A $10 million price tag on a man who rarely leaves a trace. Washington names Ahmad al-Hamidawi, shadow commander, proxy power broker, kidnappings, strikes, silence. But is this a manhunt or a message to Iran's wider militia network that the rules of this war are changing? The US State Department has announced a $10 million reward for information leading to the capture of Ahmad al-Hamidawi, the Secretary General of the Iran-backed militia Kataeb Hezbollah. The bounty was issued through the department's Rewards for Justice initiative, citing the group's alleged involvement in attacks on US interests and civilians in Iraq.
Innocent civilians killed, US citizens kidnapped, facilities attacked. Up to $10 million for info on Ahmad al-Hamidawi. Help us stop the violence. Help us stop al-Hamidawi. Send us your tip.
Washington has long designated Kataeb Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, linking it to attacks on diplomatic facilities and US personnel in Iraq. According to the Associated Press, the group was also involved in the recent abduction of American journalist Shelly Kittleson in Baghdad, who was later released under conditions negotiated with Iraqi authorities. Meanwhile, uncertainty surrounds al-Hamidawi's fate following a reported strike on a house linked to the group in Baghdad's Karada district. Conflicting reports suggest he may have been killed, while other accounts indicate he survived with injuries. Known by the alias Abu Hussein al-Hamidawi, the militia leader is considered one of the most secretive and influential Iran-aligned figures in Iraq. Available information suggests that al-Hamidawi was born in Baghdad in 1971. His family is believed to trace its roots to the southern province of Maysan, likely relocating to the capital in the 1950s or 1960s. Some reports indicate that he comes from a family with established influence within Kataeb Hezbollah. His son, Zaid al-Hamidawi, is widely believed to operate the Abu Ali al-Askari account on X, which publishes statements attributed to the group. His brothers are also said to occupy senior positions within the organization. Despite the secrecy, al-Hamidawi has long been regarded as a key Iranian-aligned figure in Iraq. His leadership role in Kataeb Hezbollah has also led to US sanctions. Operating under strict security protocols, he is said to avoid electronic communication and rely on a tightly controlled inner circle, reflecting the covert nature of his operations. The US Treasury has repeatedly sanctioned al-Hamidawi and his network, citing involvement in attacks on US forces and alleged roles in suppressing Iraqi protest movements. As Washington escalates pressure with a multi-million-dollar bounty, the shadowy network surrounding Kataeb Hezbollah underscores the enduring complexity of Iraq's militia landscape, where regional power struggles, covert operations, and unresolved conflicts continue to intersect.
A politically charged bill in Iraq, one that could further formalize and possibly expand the autonomy of a powerful coalition of pro-Iran former paramilitaries, has ignited an intense debate in Baghdad. The proposal, still largely under wraps, could reshape the future of the hashed al-Shabi alliance, a military and political heavyweight that has become deeply embedded in the country's post-Islamic State landscape. Formed in 2014, the hashed brought together dozens of armed factions after a nationwide call to resist the advance of the Islamic State group. Over the years, it has grown into a formidable force with more than 200,000 fighters and employees, wielding influence far beyond the battlefield. Its political reach has expanded, its leaders have secured seats in parliament, and its economic footprint has widened, making it both an integral part of Iraq's power structure and a focal point for foreign concern. The new bill aims to regulate and restructure this diverse alliance. Supporters insist it will bring the hashed more firmly under state authority, while opponents fear it will legitimize factions that have operated independently of Baghdad and, in some cases, against it. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, during a phone call with Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani in late July 2025, said,
The proposed legislation would institutionalize Iranian influence and arm terrorist groups, undermining Iraq's sovereignty.
An Iraqi government official, speaking to AFP on condition of anonymity, warned that the bill appears to create something similar to the Revolutionary Guards in Iran, an institution that combines military muscle with ideological loyalty to Tehran. Political scientist Renad Mansour, however, views the legislation's stated purpose as bringing the Hasht deeper into Iraq's formal state apparatus.
Some argue that this is an important first step, because it's better to have them in this system than outside the system, where they could be spoilers. It argues that this is a further way for the Hasht to consolidate its power, giving the alliance access to greater funds, greater intelligence, and other kinds of equipment and technology.
Mansour, however, also notes the concerns of critics who see the bill as a strategic power grab. The debate is unfolding against a backdrop of heightened regional tensions. The war in Gaza continues to send shockwaves across the Middle East, straining Iran's network of allies and proxies. In Lebanon, Hezbollah, another Tehran-backed armed movement, is facing pressure from the Beirut government to disarm by the end of the year. In this climate, Washington's unease over the Hasht's growing institutional power has sharpened, with fears of Iran cementing greater sway in Baghdad. Yet despite foreign pressure, the Hashed's influence has only deepened. Several of its factions have secured political office, while some of its top figures have been subjected to US sanctions. In 2022, the alliance was handed control of a lucrative public works enterprise, al-Muhandis, capitalized in the tens of millions of dollars, a move critics say entrenches its economic power. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has been quick to defend the bill, positioning it as part of his broader agenda to reform Iraq's security sector.
The proposed bill, as part of the government's broader security reform agenda, the Hasht is an official Iraqi military institution operating under the authority of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
The Hasht has enjoyed official recognition since a 2016 law designated it as a public body. However, critics argue this status has created loopholes. Some factions, they say, draw government salaries for their fighters while operating autonomously, and in some cases, launching attacks on US military positions in Iraq as part of the so-called axis of resistance. The coalition is far from united. Certain factions are loyal to Baghdad's civilian leadership, while others place their allegiance first and foremost with Tehran. This internal split, Mansour points out, is one reason why the Hasht is unlikely to evolve into a tightly disciplined force like Iran's Revolutionary Guards. The legislative path for the bill is complicated by Iraq's internal political divides. A source close to the armed factions told AFP that Shiite Muslim political parties are pushing for a special law to guarantee the Hashed's standing as an independent military institution on par with the defense or interior ministries. But this proposal has run into firm opposition from Sunni and Kurdish politicians, and even among Shia ranks, there is no unanimous agreement. Deputy Parliament Speaker Mohsen al-Mandalawi is among those publicly backing the legislation, framing it as a means to boost the Hashed's operational and organizational capabilities.
The proposed legislation contributes to enhancing the combat capabilities of the Hasht and to creating new formations concerned with developing this security institution.
Parliamentary documents reveal that the bill could also authorize the creation of a dedicated military academy for the Hasht, along with granting it financial independence. Supporters say this would modernize training and allow the force to manage its own budget. But Iraq's State Council has criticized the academy proposal, pointing to an already bloated administrative structure and urging the use of existing defense ministry facilities instead. The upcoming legislative elections in November add a further layer of political calculation. Institutional recognition for the Hashed could galvanize its grassroots supporters, many of whom see the coalition as a patriotic defender of Iraq's sovereignty. If passed, the legislation would reshape the relationship between Iraq's state institutions and one of its most influential armed coalitions. Supporters frame it as a necessary step toward integrating a complex force into the state's military hierarchy. Critics warn it risks granting unprecedented legitimacy, resources, and autonomy to a network with deep foreign ties and a history of acting independently. The decision now rests with Iraq's parliament, which will have to weigh security reform against the risk of further entrenching factional power. Whatever the outcome, the bill has already laid bare the fractures in Iraq's political landscape, and its resolution will reverberate well beyond Baghdad.